Hey, I'm Jake.
Sure.
I'm Oscar.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. My name's Sydney Argot-Singer, and I'm doing a speech on homeschooling. Homeschooling is an effective method for education for certain students that have certain needs. Homeschooling is easily accessible and good for many different types of children. There's a lot of different kids that need a lot of different things, so not everybody can learn, sitting down in a classroom. You can't always do that well, depending on what kind of person you are. There's many homeschooling websites you can access. Most of them are online nowadays. They used to be like a workbook, textbook kind of thing, but now they're mostly online. These are good for families who relocate homes. It's good for keeping kids on track and moving forward instead of switching back and forth to different schools. The online options are actually good for at your own pace learners, so that it's kind of like Montessori, if you guys know what that is, where you get your homework, it's due on Friday, and you just get it done. And then there's conventions yearly for parents to stay on track. So the parents are really, really involved with this. They're basically the teacher. So a couple times a year they have to go to some convention so that they can learn how to be better teachers and administrators for their kids' education. The homeschooling growth rate's actually growing at about 15% a year. And usually homeschooling kids are actually welcomed at college. They like to have that diversity in their student, whatever you call it. They are good at standardized tests, and they have educational freedom to learn what they want when they want to learn it. So that's something that we don't really do a whole lot of in America, but in a lot of other countries they've shown that if you let a kid learn what they want to learn, they're going to actually study and do things. The physical, emotional, and religious benefits are really big on this one. Physically, you can study where you want, do what you want, be where you're successful. Emotionally, you're not going to be pushed by other kids with you and that kind of stuff. But religiously, this is a good one because if a family has a big religious belief, they can incorporate that into their school and into their study habits with their kids. Homeschooling is actually not very expensive. It's pretty affordable. I saw an article where it said one family with 3 kids spent about $1,000 a year on homeschooling, including books, classes. Standardized tests weren't included though. That's going to be about $50 a test. They have to take the same standardized tests that kids in public schools and private schools would take. So they'd have to do that probably 2 to 3 times a year. But like I said, these kids usually are pretty good at those at those standardized tests. You wouldn't think they would be. What kind of kids is homeschooling good for? That would be good for special needs kids, kids who aren't doing very well in a class with other special needs students, and maybe they respond better to a parent or a guardian. Kids with social issues, it can be a better way. Being in class with other kids who don't have social issues could be a hard way to learn, thing to do, having to raise your hand, talk in class. Kids in demanding extracurricular activities like dancers, kid actors, kids who do like competitive cheerleading, a lot of them do the online classes because you can't switch around when you go to school. Come home sometimes, take some tests. You have to be doing it constantly, so that's why a lot of them have their parents do their online classes. A couple other people would be families who move a lot, if they're maybe in the military or something like that. You're constantly relocating your kid. You don't want to have to be taking them in and out of school, so that would be a good option. And then families with lots of kids, like the Duggars. Everybody knows the Duggars, right? They're homeschooled. There's 20 of them.
That's just.
It's way easier, than taking 20 kids to school every day to different schools. Plus, then that family specifically, they can incorporate their religion because I know they're really into church and stuff. They can incorporate that.
There's fucking.
It's a good temporary option for kids. Maybe a kid who got in a car crash or something and they're in the hospital, or they have cancer, or a teenager who got pregnant. Homeschooling would be a better opportunity for them to keep learning and keep doing school with that. One problem though with the homeschooled kids is that their parents have to be available 24/7. So if your mom or dad or grandma or whoever is not available 24/7, that's not an option. Usually it's just for families who have a stay-at-home mom or dad or a nanny or something like that, because somebody has to be with them all the time. You can't just leave a 5-year-old alone on a computer and tell them to do their homework. It doesn't work like that. And then another problem is it's living outside the norm. So these kids sometimes have a problem socializing because they don't do it a whole lot. They're just with their parents all the time. So that's why they actually make them do extracurricular activities. They have to do like 2 or 3. They have to do like one that's like cultural and then one that's a sport or something, so that can count for their gym credit, their exercise credit or whatever. So that's how those homeschooled kids will, broaden their horizons a little bit, meet some people, so that usually they can get a group of other homeschooled kids that they meet up with maybe once a week, study with, play sports with, that kind of thing. So that's one thing that's really important, is making sure that your homeschooled kid learns how to socialize and all that kind of stuff. So like I said, you have to be enrolled into a more extracurricular activities. And it's important because you're not in gym class, you need to keep your kids exercising and healthy, stuff like that. In conclusion, homeschooling is practical for students. It's easy to access, inexpensive to purchase, and effective for all kinds of different students. So really, it would work for anybody. There's pros and cons, but mostly the pros outweigh the cons. So homeschooling is just as much work or even more for families, but good results do come from it. And homeschooling is a reliable option for families to look into. A lot of people overlook homeschooling, but a lot of positive things come out of it, lots of cool stuff. So they're still here, by the way. Still here. Didn't leave.